Samsaradava nalalida loka Pranaya karuna gana ganatvam Paptasya kalyana gunaravasya Pande guroshi charanaravindam Samsaradava nalalida lokta Janaya karuna gana ganatam Paptasya kalyana gunaravasya Vande guroshi charanaravindam Vande guroshi charanaravindam Vande guroshi charanaravindam Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nitya Gita Parichamadhyam Manasurasena Romanchakam Pasuttaranga Bhajo Vande guroshi charanaravindam Vande guroshi charanaravindam Vande guroshi charanaravindam Vigrahara Nityanana Shingaratan Mandira Majinado Tasya Bhaktam Saniyunjatopi Vande Guroshi Charanaravindam Vande guroshi charanaravindam Vande guroshi charanaravindam Chaturvidashi Bhagavat Prasada Anna Chiptan Hari Bhakta Sangam Taiva Chiptim Bhajata Sadaiva Vande Guroshi Charanaravindam Vande Guroshi Charanaravindam Vande Guroshi Charanaravindam Radhika Madhavayurapara Matuya Lila Gunarupanam Nam Patikshana Swadana Lulupasya Vande Guroshi Charanaravindam Vande Guroshi Charanaravindam Vande Guroshi Charanaravindam Nikunja Yuno Ratikili Siddhai Jayali Biltira Bhiksanina Nikunja Tatarati Dakshan Ati Ballabhasya Vande Guroshi Charanaravindam Sakshadhari Trena Samasta Sastri Yuktastata Bhavya Vyateva Sadvi Kinto Prabhuya Diya Eva Tasya Vande Guroshi Charanaravindam Vande Guroshi Charanaravindam Vande Guroshi Charanaravindam Yasha Prasada Bhagavat Prasado Yasha Prasadana Nakatika Tori Yasha Prasada Dayapstudvam stasya yasastri sandam Vande Guroshi Charanaravindam Dayapstudvam stasya yasastri sandam Dayam Stutvam Stasya Yasastri Sandam Vande Guroshi Charanaravindam Vande Guroshi Charanaravindam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine Bolo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavindam Jaya Shri Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavindam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavindam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavindam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bola Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nita Gora Haribo, Haribo, Gora Haribo, Nita Gora Haribo, Nita Gora Haribo, 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 Nita Gora Haribo. Hari Hadaya Nama, Krishna Yadavaya Nama. Come on, come on. Hare Haraya Nama, Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopala Govinda Ram Shrimad Sudan. Gopala Govinda Ram Shrimad Sudan. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan. Madana Mohan, Madana Mohan. Come on, come on. Madana Mohan, Madana Mohan. Bolo Madana Mohan, Madana Mohan. Madana Mohan, Madana Mohan. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Siddha Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Siddha Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gora Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur. Thank you. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Ki Jai. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Pararajagachara Astatara Satarashi Shishimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapura Dham Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Ganga Maya Ki Jai Jamuna Maya Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Shri Nityananda Mahotsava Ki Jai Gaura Permanandi. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to the assembled. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Patita Bhavani Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitanamaya Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Pucharine Jen.
Namaste Narasimhaya Praladaladaine
Namaste Narasimhaya Praladaladaine
Hiranyakasipurvakshaha Silatankanakalaye
Shilatam Kanakalaye
Ito Narasimha Parato Narasimha Narasimha Madim Saranam Prapadye
Ito Nishinho Parato Nishinha
Yato Yami Tato Narasimha Pahe Narasimha Hrudaye Narasimha Narasimha Madim Saranam Prapadye
Pahe Nishinha Hridaye Nishinha Narasimha Madim Saranam Prapadye
Tava Kara Kamalavare Nakham Adhuta Singam Dalita Hiranyakasipu Tanubringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Tava Kara Kamalavare
Surpanakha Maruta Singha Hiranyakasipu Danubingam Keshavadita Narani Rupa Jai Jagadesha Re Jai Jagadesha Re Jai Jagadesha Re
केशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे
केशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे Jai Jagadesha Hare Jai Jagadesha Hare
जय नरसिंहदेव 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 जय भक्त प्रहलाद
Nrsingadev Jaya Nrsingadev Jaya Nrsingadev Jaya Nrsingadev
जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad
जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा
Shingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai. Vrindaye Tulsi Devai Priyaye Keshavasya Cha Vishnu Bhakti Paridevi Satyavratai Namo Namaha Vrindaye Tulsi Devai Priyaye Keshavasya Cha Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Satyavratai Namo Namaha Vrindaye Tulsi Devai Priyaye Keshavasya Cha Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Satyavratai Namo Namaha Vrindaye Tulsi Devi Maharani Ki Jai.
Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha
Radha Krishna Seba Pavo Abhilashi
Radha Krishna Seva Pava Abhilashi
Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Abhilashi
Radha Krishna Seva Pava Abhilashi
Je tomar sharanalo तारा वांछा पूर्ण होय
तुम्हारा शरण लोय तारा वांछा पूर्ण होय
कृपा कोरी करो तारे वृंदावनवासी
श्री राधा
बिलास कुंज धियो बास
विलास कुंज दियो
नयने हरिबो सदा युगल रूप राशि
सदा युगल रूप राशि
निवेदन दरो सखीरानुघात करो
निवेदन सखीर अनुगत करो
सेवाधिकार दिए करो निज दासी
सदा
दीना कृष्ण दासे कोई जन मोरा होय कृष्ण दासे होय जन मोरा श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेम सदा जिन भासी
श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेम सदा येन भासी
श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेम सदा जिन भासी
राधा गोविंद प्रेम सदा येन भासी
तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः
तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः
यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्मात्यधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे
यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे
यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्मात्यधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे
यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे
यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्याधिकानि च
यानि कानि च पापानि प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे
यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्याधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे
यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्याधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Tulsi Maharani Tulsi Maharani Jaya Maharani Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi Vrinda Devi Vrinda Devi Jaya Vrinda Devi Vrinda Devi Jaya Vrinda Devi Vrinda Devi Jaya Vrinda Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Gurudev Jaya Jaya
Vrindaye Tulsidevaya Priyaye Keshavaya Cha Vishnu Bhakti Pradi Devi Satyavrataya Namo Namaha Vrindaye Tulsidevaya Priyaye Keshavaya Cha Vishnu Bhakti Pradi Devi Satyavrataya Namo Namaha Vrindaye Tulsidevaya Priyaye Keshavaya Cha Vishnu Bhakti Pradi Devi Satyavrataya Namo Namaha Vrindaye Tulsidevaya Priyaye Keshavaya Cha Vishnu Bhakti Pradi Devi Satyavrataya Namo Namaha Vrindaye Tulsi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. O Tulasi, beloved of Krishna, I beg. Yeah. Thus strengthen my vision of O Krishna. I beg you to make me follow her damsels of Raja. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maidservant. This very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna prays, may always swim in love with Shishi Radha and Govinda, Tulsi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Siksastakam Ki Jai. Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nivapanam Shairav Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vidya Vadhavu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipradam Purnam Ritasvadanam Sarvatmasnapanam param vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Namna Kari Bahuda Nija Sarva Saktis Tatra Pita Niyamitak Smaranina Kala Etadrisita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaivam Drisi Samihaj Ninanuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahisnana Amanina Manudena Kirtanir Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasandarim Kavitam Va Jagadishakamaye Mama Janmani Janmanishware Bhavatat Bhakti Rahaitu Ki Twai Ai Nandata Nuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddho Kripaya Tava Padapankaja Stita Dulisad Risam Vichintaya Nayanam Galadasurudaraya Vadanam Gadya Durudaya Jira Pulaka Nisitam Vapu Kada Tavanamagrahane Bhavishyati Yuga Yitam Nimesena Chaksusa Pavrasayitam Sunyayitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahiname Aslisyava Padaratam Pinastumam Adarsanam Marmahato Karutuva Yata Tata Vavidata Tu Lampato Mat Prananatas Tu Saiva Naparaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Chaitanya Siksastakam Ki Jai. Glories to the Shri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it's the rays of benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds of millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the store on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I want beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I have fallen into this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs on my body stand on end at the recitation of your holy name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Siksastakam Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinam Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatira Satharine Jai Shri Krishna Bhagavan Ki Jai. There are 10 offenses in the matter of chanting the holy names of the Lord that should be avoided, and they are as follows. 1. To blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives to propagating holy names to the Lord. 2. To consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to independent names of Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance of the Vedic version. 5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna as imagination. 6. To give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities or karma kanda. 9. To instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name. 10. To not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names and to maintain material attachments even after so many instructions in this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success, Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just like desired trees that can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vanchakalpatarabhyascha kripasindubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Vaishnava Thakur ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Guru Vani Pachari Nirvishesha Nirvara. Hare Krishna. So today is the Nityananda Abhirava Mahotsav, and the program starts 10 o'clock this morning. I'm sure not many people will be here at 10 o'clock, but be here or be nowhere. So please come at 10 o'clock, and Abhishekam will begin around that time. And also, it'll go on till 12, and there's Aarti, and then after Aarti, there's a very special program. It's called Pizza Pizza. So you're all welcome on Nityananda Pizza Day. Right. And then even he's clapping his hands. So, okay, well, that's our program for today. And then this evening also, there'll be a lot of kirtan. Oh, we're going over. How can we eat pizza in a half an hour? It's not possible. Huh? You'll wait? You will what? Wait? What? Yeah, of course. At least 2:30 we'll all go out on Sankirtan. Yes. Okay, thank you very much. So, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Haribol, Haribol, Gora Haribol, Nita Gora Haribol. Nita Gora Haribol, Haribol, Gora Haribol, Nita Gora Haribol. Haribol, Haribol, Nita Gora, Nita Gora Haribol, 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 Haribol. Joy, Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. This is the Adi Leela, chapter 5, in which the identity of Lord Nityananda is explained in depth. This whole chapter is about him. And it says, "Let me offer my obeisances to Lord Nityananda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose opulence is wonderful and unlimited. By his will, even a fool can understand his identity. All glories to Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Lord Nityananda, and all glories to Advaita Acharya, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu." Now this is Krishnadas Kaviraj, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, speaking. "I have described the glory of Sri Krishna Chaitanya in 6 verses. Now, in 5 verses, I shall describe the glory of Lord Nityananda. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the fountainhead of all incarnations. Lord Balaram is his second body." Prabhupada writes, "Lord Shri Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead, is the primeval Lord, the original form of Godhead, and his first expansion is Shri Balarama. The personality of Godhead can expand himself infinitely, or in innumerable forms. The forms that have unlimited potency are called Swamsa, and forms that have limited potencies, the living entities, are called Vibhinansa. These two are one," meaning Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, "and the same identity. They differ only in form. Lord Balaram is the first bodily expansion of Krishna, and he assists in Lord Krishna's transcendental pastimes." Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Balarama is a Swamsa, expansion of the Lord, meaning he has unlimited potencies, exactly like Krishna. And therefore, there is no difference in potency between Krishna and Balaram. The only difference is in their bodily structure. As the first expansion of Godhead, Balaram is the chief deity among the first quadruple forms, and he is the foremost assistant of Shri Krishna in his transcendental activities. The original Lord Krishna appeared in Navadvip as Lord Chaitanya, and Balarama appeared with him as Lord Nityananda. May Shri Nityananda Rama be the object of my constant remembrance. Sankarsan, Sheshanaga, and the Vishnus who lie in the Karana ocean, Garbha ocean, and the ocean of milk are his plenary portions, and the portions of his plenary portions. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami has recorded this verse in his diary to offer his respectful obeisances to Lord Nityananda Prabhu. This verse also appears in the 7th of the first 14 verses of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lord Balarama is the original Sankarsana. He assumes 5 other forms to serve Lord Krishna. He himself helps in the pastimes of Lord Krishna, and he does the work of creation in 4 other forms. He executes the orders of Lord Krishna in the work of creation And in the form of Lord Shesha, he serves Krishna in various ways. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. According to expert opinion, Balarama, as the chief of the original quadruple forms, is also the original Sankarsana. Balarama, the first expansion of Krishna, expands himself in 5 forms: Mahasankarsana, Karanabdishayi, Garbhodakshayi, Shirodakshayi, and Shesha. These 5 plenary portions. Okay, now the word plenary means complete, right? These 5 plenary portions are responsible for both the spiritual and material cosmic manifestations. In these 5 forms, Lord Balarama assists Lord Krishna in his activities. The first 4 of these forms are responsible for the cosmic manifestation, that means the material world, are responsible for these 5 plenary portions are responsible for both the spiritual and material cosmic manifestations. In these 5 forms, Lord Balarama assists Lord Krishna in his activities. The first 4 of these forms are responsible for the cosmic manifestations, whereas Shesha is responsible for personal service to the Lord. Shesha is called Ananta, or unlimited, because he assists the personality of Godhead in his unlimited expansions by performing an unlimited variety of services. Shri Balarama is the servitor Godhead who serves Lord Krishna in all affairs of existence and knowledge. Lord Nityananda Prabhu, who is the same servitor Godhead, Balarama, performs the same service to Lord Gauranga by constant association. So, therefore, we see how the expansions of Krishna are unlimited. We have no idea how powerful and how potent Krishna is. He has unlimited potencies. And Balarama is his first expansion. And then from Balarama comes the first Mahasankarshan of the first Chaturvyuha. Chaturvyuha are 4 Vishnu forms, and they are in the spiritual sky to expand the spiritual sky unlimitedly, and then they give they expand into the Narayana forms that are throughout the entire spiritual world, Vaikuntha, and then from Narayana expands this second Chaturvyuha, the second 4 expansions of Krishna as Vasudeva, Sankarshan. So Vasudeva is Krishna himself, Sankarshan is Balaram, and then Pradyumna and Aniruddha. And from this second Chaturvyuha, from Sankarshan or Balaram, expands the Vishnu incarnations for the creation of the material world. And they are Karanadakshay Vishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and Shirodakshay Vishnu. So Karanadakshay Vishnu is the gigantic, unbelievably gigantic form of Mahavishnu, and an infinite numbers of universes expand from the holes of the hairs in his body, and they are complete universes. Like we're in one complete universe right now. There are many, many other, infinite number of other complete universes in the material world. And the entire material creation is not, it's hardly 1/4 of the domain or the wonderful creation, not creation, but wonderful spiritual world. So the material world is 1/4 of that, and it's in a cloudy area where the knowledge of Krishna or vision of Krishna is not clearly there, and people are living in a hazy consciousness in this clouded area called the material world. The spiritual world expands infinitely, an infinite number of Vaikuntha planets and infinite number of living entities who are liberated, who never have fallen down. We are part of that one-fourth creation called the material world, because the material world is a prison house, and the body are the shackles in which we are prisoners. And it's because we misused our free will and chose to separate ourselves from Krishna out of envy. And we come to the material world, which is a prison house, where it's not permanent in the sense, it's not like the spiritual world that's permanently manifest. It goes through a manifest form. The material world goes through a manifest form and an unmanifest form. So it's very bewildering. Everything's bewildering in the material world. And we are subject to the laws of karma. Our soul becomes covered by a temporary and constantly changing material body, which is the source of all kinds of discomfort and suffering. And therefore, this material world is described as anityam asokam loka. It is temporary, it's not eternal, and it is full of misery. And that's the description of where we are right now. And therefore, Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we are all expanded from Krishna. He is not very happy that some of the living entities have separated from him. So he will appear in the material world to try and inspire us to go back to Godhead. He'll also send different avatars from the spiritual world, like Balaram and like Narada Muni and so many others. And he will empower certain jivas like us to be able to do incredible things like Vyasadeva and Narada Muni. He will also send his very confidential devotees to come to the material world. Those are liberated souls, and they come to instruct others to take up Krishna consciousness. So Krishna is more anxious for us to come back to Godhead than we are. We're reluctant to go back to Godhead. But if we come in contact with genuine devotees, they can convince us, if we're willing to hear, and follow good advice. See the defining quality of a demon is they refuse to accept good advice. That is the defining quality of a demon. If you want to know who is a demon, give them good advice and see what they do. If they refuse to follow it, you know they're a real demon. It doesn't matter who they are. It could be parents, it could be relatives, it could be anybody. If they refuse good advice, how to go back to Godhead, that means they're a demon. They can be kids. Kids also refuse to take good advice. In fact, most kids today refuse to take good advice. Most kids. Because they've been taught like that. The whole Constitution of the United States, based on the philosophy of mostly based on the philosophy of John Locke, teaches people to be independent and not to follow good advice, to speculate. That's why there's so much trouble in America. The Constitution itself is based on not following authority. So here we have a dilemma. But if we're fortunate enough, after many, many births and deaths, to come in contact with genuine devotees and hear from them the original words of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita and Krishna's pure devotees in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we can have a change of heart and decide to take good advice. So Lord Nityananda is the first guru. He is the servant of Krishna. So he goes around and tries to help people understand you don't belong here. And Krishna wants you back where you came from, back to Godhead. So therefore it says, in all forms, Lord Nityananda tastes the transcendental bliss of serving Krishna. That same Balaram is Lord Nityananda, the companion of Lord Gaura Sundar, meaning the companion of Lord Chaitanya. And then it says, I have explained the 7th verse in 4 subsequent verses. By these verses, all the world can know the truth about Lord Nityananda. I surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Rama, who is known as Sankarsana in the midst of the Chaturvyuha, consisting of Vasudeva, which is Krishna, Sankarsana, which is Balaram, Pradumna, and Aniruddha. He possesses full opulences and resides in Vaikuntha Lokas, far beyond the material creation. This is a verse from Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami's diary. It appears as the 8th of the first 14 verses of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Beyond the material nature, there lies the realm known as Paravyoma, the spiritual sky. Like Lord Krishna himself, it possesses all transcendental attributes such as the 6 opulences. So now he's talking about the spiritual world. And the purport, Prabhupada says, according to Sankhya philosophy, the material cosmos is composed of 24 elements. The 5 gross material elements, the 3 subtle material elements, the 5 knowledge-acquiring senses, the 5 active senses, the 5 objects of sense pleasure, and the Mahatattva, the total material energy. Empiric philosophers, or meaning those who only accept what they see, unable to go beyond these elements, speculate that anything beyond them must be avyakta or inexplicable. But the world beyond the 24 elements is not inexplicable, for it is explained in the Bhagavad Gita as the eternal, sanatana nature. Beyond the manifested and unmanifested existence of material nature, vyakta is the sanatana or eternal nature, which is called the paravyoma, or the spiritual sky. Since that nature is spiritual in quality, there are no qualitative differences between everything there in spiritual and there are no qualitative differences there. Everything there is spiritual. Everything is good, and everything possesses the spiritual form of Sri Krishna himself. That spiritual sky is the manifested internal potency of Sri Krishna. It is distinct from the material sky manifested by his external potency. So guess what? When you go back to Godhead, if you're in the Vaikuntha section, you have 4 arms. How would you like to have 4 arms, bro? And if you go, if you pass Vaikuntha and go to Goloka, you have 2 arms. But you look exactly like Krishna. And in Vaikuntha, you look very, very similar to Narayana. So you see, we have no idea what it's like to go back to Godhead. But if we carefully hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is the postgraduate study of Vedic knowledge, then you can know what happens in the spiritual world. Whereas the empiric philosophers and all the modern philosophers and scientists are empiricists. They only believe in what they can see with their imperfect eyes. They have no clue about what the real human potential is. Therefore, they say crazy things like, when you die, everything is over. You're toast. You don't exist anymore. That is complete nonsense. And anyone who believes that becomes a nonsense. Because then you think, well, if I only have one life, then I may as well use this life to have as much sense gratification as possible. So this is the dilemma of modern education, is teaching people to be frenetic. That's a very nice word, look it up, frenetic, F-R-E-N-E-T-I-C. About sense gratification, frenetic about sense gratification. They think this is the only reality, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending like polished animals. The unpolished animals are dogs and hogs and snakes, and the polished animals, did you see that word?
Yes.
What does it mean?
It's fast and energetic, but in a rather wild and uncontrolled way.
Yes. So people are after sense gratification in a wild and uncontrolled way. That's what it means, frenetic. Say. So that's what's being learned in schools today. That's what's being taught to people. When you die, it is over. Therefore, you better work hard and play hard now, because when you die, it is over. See? So they are encouraging this nonsense culture of frenetic sense gratification. Okay, so then it continues here. It says, but the world beyond the 24 elements is not inexplicable, for it is explained in the Bhagavad Gita as the eternal Sanatana nature, beyond the manifested and unmanifested existence of material nature, is the Sanatana, or eternal nature, which is called the Paravyoma, or the spiritual sky. Since that nature is spiritual in quality, there are no qualitative differences there. Everything there is spiritual. Everything is good, and everything possesses the spiritual form of Sri Krishna himself. That spiritual sky is the manifested internal potency of Sri Krishna. It is distinct from the material sky manifested by his external potency, or Maya. The all-pervading Brahman, composed of the impersonal glowing rays of Sri Krishna, exists in the spiritual world with the Vaikuntha planets. We can get some idea of that spiritual sky by a comparison to the material sky, for the rays of the sun in the material sky can be compared to the Brahmajyoti, the glowing rays of the personality of Godhead. In the Brahmajyoti, there are unlimited Vaikuntha planets, which are spiritual and therefore self-luminous, with a glow many times greater than that of the sun. The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, his innumerable plenary portions, and the portions of his plenary portions dominate each Vaikuntha planet. In the highest region of the spiritual sky is the planet called Krishna Loka, which has three divisions, namely Dwarka, Mathura, and Goloka, or Gokula. So here, this is the only scripture in this whole universe, not just the earth, in the whole universe, that gives a very detailed explanation of what's going on in the spiritual world. And this is just one little, let's say, example of it. There's plenty of much more detail in this Chaitanya Charitamrita of what's actually going on in the spiritual world. You can read the Quran, you can read the Bible, you can read the Torah, you can read the Sikh Granth Sahib, you can read the literatures of the Jains, you can live the literatures of the Buddhists. You will have no information, or very, very sparingly tidbits of information of the spiritual sky. But here, you have a whole encyclopedia of the spiritual sky. That's how important these literatures are. There's nothing comparable to this in the whole universe. Even the Devas, they like and hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. But the special Devas, who are very advanced, they're enamored by this Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, and when Prabhupada came in that Jaladuta boat from India, he was reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita for solace and for inspiration and for ecstasy. So we can see how this is such a special book, and was written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami when he was over 90 years old. He didn't know how long he was going to live. he was already over 90 years old, and he had to collect the information from the remaining disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that were still alive at that time, like Swarup Damodar Swami and a few others. And he did a fantastic job. This is all nectar, pure nectar flowing from the spiritual world to us. Okay, so we'll stop right there and continue. We'll have a class later on, and we'll have our festival, and we'll have our pizza also. And then, again, this Harinam Sankirtan, and then you can take a little bit of rest, and then get ready to take a shower and dress up and put tilak on for the evening program. Hari Bol. So, 24-hour Krishna consciousness. Hari Bol. Are there any questions? All glories to Lord Nityananda Ram Ki Jai. Hari Bol.
The class is over.
What?
The class is over.
Right now. But
Right.
we're going to have class, at 7:30. Now is the real class. You chant your rounds. Of course, I finished my rounds, but I'm going to chant some more.